So I mentioned about a really, really sad story um, of a young man who he's actually an exception. He's an exception because he tried to get in the middle of a domestic violence dispute and protect a female from getting hurt. And the investigators say that Jonathan Price tried to shake the hand of the cop who shot him, and that cop now is hiring Amber Guyer's attorney. And this is by a Zach Linley. And so this is sad because here he is here. His life mattered. It really did. And a lot of the neighbors, a lot of the people that are from the town of where this guy was from, where he was residing before he was killed, have mobilized. They've tried to unite and they've tried to come together in solidarity for this young man that is now not with the family and friends. So the people gathered for a march and a rally and a candlelight vigil in honor of Jonathan Price, October the 5th, in Wolf City, Texas, is where it was at. So the police officer Sean Lucas has been charged in relation to the fatal shooting of Price on October the 3rd after Price was allegedly trying to stop a domestic dispute. Now here you got a situation where actually a black male was trying to be a law abiding citizen and a good Samaritan, and he was trying to break up a domestic violence dispute because he's one of the few who sees that this is not the way you treat women. So police body camera footage revealed new details about what happened between 31-year-old Jonathan Price and Wolf City, Texas police officer Sean Lucas in the moments before Price's fatal shooting. According to an affidavit from the Texas Ranger who are investigating the shooting, Price attempted to shake Lucas's hand at the start of their confrontation. That's really sad. This is before he was killed by this officer. He tried to extend his hand. He tried to put forth effort to explain the situation before he was murdered and so killed. But before we get into all of that, we will really need to talk about the defense attorney that Lucas has retained because he's the same attorney who represented Amber Guyger, the former Dallas police officer who was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 10 years after shooting and killing Botham Jean in his own apartment. And so, Robert, we know about that story. If you don't, read about it. And a lot of people were not very happy that the brother went and hugged Amber Guyger because they feel like to the attorney, not the attorney, but the judge came down and gave Amber Guyger a Bible and sat with her and prayed with her. And people felt like had it been the other way around, that would not have happened. And I have to be honest with you, I don't believe that would have happened either. Because for the simple fact that we have not been showed the same type of respect as people that are black in the legal system. And so I have to be honest and say that I don't feel like the judge is going to come down and get a Bible and pray with you, that the people's families are going to come over and hug you necessarily. I have not really seen many of those type of circumstances. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but I have not seen it in that fashion for a situation of that nature. And so usually it's harsh punishment and they pretty much want to lock you up and throw away the key, so to speak. And so Robert Rogers, getting back to the article, he appears to be a man who is all about giving police officers the benefit of the doubt. And so the same attorney who argued in an opening statement that the media's sensationalism is the only reason that people didn't see Geyer as a perfectly innocent woman who went to the wrong apartment and was so startled that she shot and killed an actually innocent black man, is now crafting a narrative for his new client that appears to omit a lot of what investigators said actually happened on the night of October 3rd. So this is how the law also works in favor of people who are on the other side of the fence. They're not marginalized, but they are looked at as the pretty much the dominant class of white people who have done harm or they've killed black people. Usually will use law enforcement to work in their favor, or the justice system to work in their favor, so that they can get exonerated. And this is what people are looking at this situation as that this officer may be trying to use this particular attorney to craft a story for him to pose a circumstance as if he did not mean to kill this innocent man, because there's so much outpour in the community and people who love this man, and they can't paint him as a criminal as they oftentimes will do with black people. They'll look at your prior history, they'll try to see if they can dig something up on you so that they can justify why they don't have any sympathy for you, and why they look at you as if you don't matter. It justifies it, and so they couldn't find anything on this man to paint him as a criminal, because he has so much support in the community and so much love, and he was so well liked. And here the story is he was trying to stop a domestic violence dispute, which so often happens in some of these communities, that people feel that they don't have a voice, they're not heard, and they're oftentimes forgotten. So after Mr. Price refused repeated instructions and physically resisted, Officer Lucas deployed his taser and continued to give Mr. Price instructions. Rogers said in a statement Tuesday night, CNN reports that Mr. Price resisted the effects of the taser and attempted to take it away from Officer Lucas. Officer Lucas only discharged his weapon in accordance with the Texas law when he was confronted with an aggressive assailant who was attempting to take the taser. According to Texas Rangers, body cam footage tells a much broader story. So Lucas is 22 years of age, responded a domestic dispute call at the gas station's convenience store around 8:24 p.m. Saturday, according to the affidavit. Price's family says that Price was attempting to break up a dispute and didn't threaten anyone. So based on the body cam footage, which has not been released to the public, and the affidavit says that when Lucas arrived at the scene, Price had greeted him and came very close to the officer. Lucas asking, "You are doing good? Are you doing good?" multiple times. Okay, so while extending his hand in a handshake gesture, Price apologized for the broken glass on the ground and stated someone had tried to wrap me up, the affidavit said. And so Lucas told investigators that he thought that Price was intoxicated and attempted to detain Price, but Price allegedly stated, "I can't be detained," the affidavit said. So the officer then tried to detain Price by grabbing his arms and using verbal commands, but was unsuccessful, the affidavit had said. So he then produced the taser. According to the affidavit, Lucas warned Price to comply or he would use the taser, and then Price walked away. The officer fired the taser. The affidavit also said so. While being tased, Price walked towards Lucas and tried to reach for the weapon, at which point the officer took out his service weapon and fired four shots, according to the affidavit. Lee Merritt, the attorney who represents Price's family, wonders why Lucas, who was charged with murder in connection with the shooting on Monday, felt the need to use any kind of force at all, given that the disturbance he was called to the scene was reportedly over by the time he had gotten there. So the situation was resolved before law enforcement arrived, according to the witnesses. So the attorney said at CNN reports why this officer still felt the need to tase and shoot Jonathan is beyond comprehension. So that is pretty much this article in regard to that circumstance. So this is a picture of Jonathan Price, I believe his name. And they had a candlelit vigil. It says Justin for Jonathan, or Justin for John. His life mattered, and it definitely did, because he sounds to be like a good Samaritan that was just trying to help, and it was an unfortunate situation, which now the family is looking for, wanting answers as to why this whole thing ensued as it did. So having said that, I'm going to let this video go.